Jay Walker, along with Raging Cajun Athletic Director, Dr. Bryan Maggard. Just getting away from all of the business for a minute. All the kids coming in for Christmas?
They are. We get 2 of them coming back tomorrow morning and the third on a Wednesday. So we'll all be together very soon. I'm looking forward to that. And it'll be a good time.
You were able to get them all together, around Thanksgiving?
We were. So fortunate to have that happen. And then a few weeks later, Christmas. So
How are you and Carrie coping with being empty nesters?
Very well. But I feel like she's been, almost singled of late, and so I'm looking forward to reconnecting with her and re-engaging because this process is absolutely. I've been absent
the last couple of weeks.
That and even probably the last couple months. It's just even when I'm there, I'm not there. I'm not there mentally, and so she's long overdue for some quality time.
There you go, and hopefully you guys will get to do that during the holidays. How many people did you actually interview for this job?
Lots. There were between phone and in person, Jay, there were a lot. And again, I don't get too specific on, those types of things with a process like this. But I will just, again, I go back to tremendous amount of interest, fantastic candidates, very qualified individuals. And as I go back to my earlier comment, I wasn't surprised. Don't take that. Don't take it that way, but just very humbled, by the amount, and so just reinforced everything that I know to be true, and that is that we have a fantastic program here. People from a national perspective see and understand that, and I think that's what made this job so attractive.
Was there any concern from candidates about Cajun Field in particular?
No, none. Those are the types of things that, people know that facilities can be enhanced. And to your, earlier point with us, it's, there's only so many of these jobs out there, right? And so they are very aware of the facilities we have surrounding the football stadium, and they know that it can get accomplished here, so.
I want to go back to that assistance pool for a minute.
Okay.
Boise State has played in a New Year's Six Bowl.
Yes.
UCF is about to. The University of Houston came awfully close. An upset against Southern Mississippi kept them out of a New Year's Six Bowl. Cincinnati has shown that they can have some pretty consistent success. Memphis, the same thing. And Memphis, I think, has made great strides because it wasn't that long ago their football program was not good.
Correct.
What are you expecting out of this commitment that you're making and this hiring of a football coach? What are you expecting is going to happen with this football program? Not hoping, but expecting.
Yeah, my expectation is that we are that top-ranked mid-major program. I really do. And that's something Bill and I talked extensively about. But I have a role to play in that as well. That's just not all on him. I've got to make sure that I'm positioning that football program to get the resources needed, to get the players we need, the facilities we need to accomplish that task. But absolutely, when I look at other programs, within the mid-major level who are going to that New Year's Six-Day Bowl, I look at them and say, why not us? I mean, that should be us. I really believe we should be contending for that year in and year out, and that's not pie in the sky to me, because given the facilities we do currently have, the better talent that we can pull from, and now certainly with this football coach, I absolutely expect and believe we can accomplish that.
Does that go hand in hand with something that you said? It's something I've quoted you as saying quite a bit over the last month or so, that you wanted to come in and dominate this league. And as I said it, you mouthed it as well. You knew where I was going with this. But I guess what you're saying walks hand in hand with something that you've always said.
It does. It does walk hand in hand. We can and should win at a high level here. I believe that. But I'll always say that I have a role to play in that. So that I would never put that just on a coach or just on our student athletes or a coaching staff. I've got to make sure. One thing Billy and I talked about that was important to both of us is we have to be in alignment. And I would not have hired a coach who didn't believe and expect the same things. And he's right there with me because, again, he's been in this region. He knows the opportunities this program can have, and he absolutely expects us to accomplish those same things.
Okay, you said that you play a part in the future and what you expect, that you play a role in this as well. Okay, you've gone out and gotten a very impressive coach's salary pool. You're paying this guy a lot of money. As a matter of fact, you're paying this guy a lot of money that I'll bet 10 years ago, if somebody would have said, we're going to pay this guy this much money, people would have, probably fallen on the floor and hold their bellies and start laughing. Nobody's laughing now. Okay. What's next as far as your role in the success of this football program?
The football stadium. I've got to make sure that, my next focus will be to absolutely delve into that master plan, and we need to get the right people around the table and start making some decisions. And then once we make those decisions, we got to create and implement a plan to get that accomplished. That's just there's nothing else to do from a facility standpoint than that right now, from a major facility renovation standpoint. And so that's something that I absolutely need to spearhead. But Bill will have a part in that too, right? He'll put a product on the field that's going to continue to excite people, and that'll help in that regard. But I absolutely need to start moving that needle forward.
How important is the stadium? We were talking about, how are we going to get anybody to take this job? It was, oh yeah, but Cajun Field is, and somebody said, you know what, players don't go into the press box at Cajun Field. They don't go into the president's box, and they don't see any of the things that sometimes we in the media see. They don't see how comfortable the seats are. What they see is the APC, the practice facilities that you have. All of that is in place. Why is it so important to do the stadium as well?
Well, I do think it's important from a recruiting standpoint. I think that can be another element of wow, when you bring prospects and their families in here. But I also think it's, to continue to engage and entice the fan base. I think you want to have a facility. To me, it's you want it to be pristine, you want it to be clean, you want it to be modern. We need to have, a new element of premium seating available because, again, that can help with the revenue generation. And I think that from the national perspective, I think it's, when people roll into Lafayette and play us, they need to see, that we take our athletics programs very serious here. We take great pride in it. And so I do think it has relevance. But to your point, players, at the end of the day, they may not, care as much. But I do believe that, a nice stadium can be very helpful from a recruiting standpoint.
Have you thought about this at all as far as a timetable is concerned?
Yes, I have. I'm not going to say anything about a timetable, but we need to get rolling on it. We really do. And I know, things like this don't happen overnight. I'm not that naive, but I know that, my focus is absolutely going to be on the identification, planning, and implementation of moving that forward.
How much does whatever is decided to be done concerning the Cox Communication Center, how big a role does that play in what you do at the rest of the stadium?
Well, it plays a role because, we need to decide, what type of footprint we're looking at, for the stadium and what type of renovations we want to do. But, I've gone public and said that, I'm not necessarily sold on taking the Cox building down. I have an interest in looking at how could we renovate that building as is and then go higher with it. Now, how feasible that is, I don't know right now, but that's again part of that master planning
have you
investigation we need to do.
Have you looked to see whether structurally it's
Correct.
Possible to do that?
Have not yet. So
if
again,
if they come to you and they say, dude, you can't build a second floor on this thing,
then that might change the thought process on that. Don't know for sure, but those are things we've got to dive into.
You had to hire a football coach first. Anything else that is on your plate of what you would call a priority type thing that would not derail, but maybe slow down your finding out about the rest of the stuff concerning the football facility? Is there anything else on your plate you're not telling us
No,
about?
and I certainly hope it stays that way. We've got a great bunch of head coaches. We've got a great bunch of student athletes, and, I want to get back to being able to position all of our sport teams to compete for and win championships. And that's something I've said, since I've been here. Again, it's not just on them. I have a role to play in that as well. And whether that's enhancing recruiting budgets, it's allowing coaches to go recruit overseas, it's whatever it is. Those are things that I want to make sure we're focusing on.
All right, I'm going to ask this straight up. Where the hell are you finding all this money? We didn't have any money. Okay, all I've been hearing for years is we ain't got no money. Okay?
In many regards, Jay, it's spending money differently. It's making sure that, you look at what you're doing with, can we be more efficient in certain areas and save monies here and spend it over here? Because anytime we can become more efficient in a more of an administrative or operational area, and if I can take those dollars and invest them in the sport teams, that's what we're going to do. That'll be our number one priority.
What has been, and I know you had to have talked with some of them since the announcement on Friday, you've got some people who give a lot of money to the athletic programs at UL. And I'm sure that by now some of them have given you an opinion because it's kind of what people do. Suffice to say, you're getting pretty positive response on this?
Extremely positive. Nothing negative yet. And, as I joked with Coach Napier today, you're undefeated. Everybody loves you. They love me. Let's enjoy this time. But, no, it's been extremely positive. I think, he has brought a level of excitement, enthusiasm, and buzz to this community. And, this is my first experience with a hire of that magnitude here, but I've had many people who've been through it before and say they've not seen any type of hype like this before. So,
well, I happened to run into a few of those guys after the press conference earlier today, and didn't plan on having a real long conversation with them, but I did have a conversation with a few of them, and I asked them, what impresses you? And their response was, this guy's real. And I think that goes back to the conversation we had. You're hired person first, a football coach second.
That's a good way to put it. I've never really used that word, but I think that's a great way to describe him. I've always said, kind of as an outsider, I'm not from the Cajun background, Cajun culture, but I always use two words to describe it. And it's genuine and relational. And it didn't take me very long to learn that I felt Billy Napier is that.
You didn't mention Boudin.
I did not.
I didn't know there was anything more important than Boudin, actually. 25 minutes away from the top of the hour, Bryan Maggard, Raging Cajun Athletic Director, is our guest this afternoon. Getting away from football for just a minute, you're losing a valued staff member.
Yes.
A member of your senior staff, Rob Stuart, has announced that he's going to go into more private business, get out of collegiate athletics, and do something where, as he put it, I can get home at 5:15 and hug my children, right. and because we all know that none of what we do is a 9 to 5 situation. Have you given any thought to what you're going to do? Are you going to hire someone to fill that position? Or are you going to use these dollars and maybe put them to work somewhere else? Have you made any decision?
No,
as to what you're planning to do?
We'll need to have a director of marketing type position. What that'll exactly look like, we don't know, but I'll certainly, I know Nico has some thoughts already, and it's kind of one of those things that you sit there and you don't have a definitive plan, but it's one of those, like a lot of my administrative positions. Well, what if this happened? What might you do? I will just say this: Rob, has been very valuable. Since my arrival, he was really, really helpful in my transition initially. Did a great job of setting up, the tours around Acadiana for me. I asked a lot of him. He was our associate for external affairs, and I asked a tremendous amount from Rob, and he absolutely came through on all of that. And so I think it was a tough decision for he and Leah because, again, this is a lifestyle, right? It's not a job, it's not a career, it's a lifestyle. And, when you decide to make a change, from it, you're changing your lifestyle. In this situation, I totally understand, why he would do that. They've got amazing young kids, and Rob's a great husband. He's a great dad, and he's a guy who I know prioritizes his family, greatly. And I also know they wanted to stay in Lafayette for a while. So I remember asking Rob when I first got here, and we were driving back and forth from the Sun Belt basketball tournament in New Orleans, and I just asked him, does he aspire to be an athletics director? And he gave a good answer, and he was honest. He goes, and one day I might say yes, and the other day I'm not sure. And so I think, Rob and Leah are just absolutely, happy to live in Lafayette right now. Her family's from here, and this opportunity came about to allow them to do that, but also I think maybe accomplish some of the goals that they wanted to, as a family. So we'll miss him, and Rob has great connections, and the good news is he told me he's a phone call away, and we may have to tap into that once in a while.
Dr. Bryan Maggard, Raging Cajun Athletic Director, our guest this afternoon. We've got more with him as the Sports Gap continues after this. ESPN 1420, ESPN1420.com, and the ESPN 1420 app.